Neil from EA Media. I read a story over the weekend that was talking about passwords and how Microsoft was looking to change, how some people were wondering what the future of passwords were, that sort of thing. So I wanted to comment and give you some opinion as to what I see happening with passwords. By the way, if you like this video, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. That way you can help grow the EA Media community. For the longest of times, I've been hearing that passwords were going the way of the dodo bird. People hate using them. They can be guessed, broken, hacked, and phished. And in the end, as computers get more and more powerful, they become less and less useful. But they haven't gone away. Why? Well, like everything, it's useful to remember where passwords came from. When I first started in security back in 2000, the CISSP training manual actually called username and passwords as two separate items. Now, we combine them and show them as username password. Back then, when security was just starting, we separated them out. Much the same way that vendors back then had an SSO solution or a provisioning solution, but seldom both. Now, we logically group authentication with authorization. But the username is the ultimate in roles. It's a role with only one user in it. So your authorization is tied to that one single role. It's not very efficient, but hey, it's easily identifiable. But authentication? That's a different story. Authentication has always had three components: who you are, what you know, and what you have. The higher the authentication requirements, the more components you need. You don't need authentication? Then you don't need one of those three components. For lower requirements, then all you need is just who you are, which morphed into authorization but has always been originally the first level of authentication. A little higher requirements drove the need for username and password, or, as those two components talk about, who you are and what you know. And the highest level of authentication required what is now called two-factor authentication, but has three components. The key fob, or biometrics, or passkey, or some other physical aspect was required to be added. But at some point along the way, the computing ability to make use of a second factor of authentication became just as easy as using a password and much more secure. Microsoft announced back in April that they were doing away with passwords and making use of cell phones. You log into whatever it is that you need to log into using only your username. That username is tied to your cell phone, and the back office area will send a message to your cell phone. You press Approved on your cell phone, and you're in. No password. Skipping the password all the way to a quasi two-factor authentication. But now, instead of who you are and what you know, it becomes who you are and what you have. The assumption is that everyone has a cell phone and that the cell phone can act as a physical confirmation of who you say you are. Forgotten passwords will now be replaced with forgotten cell phones. You can't guess a password or do a brute force break-in because there isn't anything residing in a system in some encrypted file. But now you have to do two things. You have to make sure that all users have a cell phone, and you have to make sure that cell phones can't be hacked. And two of my videos from a while back, one on Broadpawn and the other on attacking cell phones through video games, shows that cell phones aren't necessarily the best replacement for passwords. But they can be a good replacement for key fobs and two-factor authentication. My gut says that passwords will go away as it becomes easier and easier to replace them with something else like facial recognition, biometrics, or something else that can't be broken into. As long as no one can break into my mind, I'm happy. Computing power is getting to the point that it will get there, and the problems with passwords are only going to get worse. But don't count on them going away next week. We've been using passwords as long as there's been verbal communication. Hey, maybe that's the answer. Use voice recognition to speak the password of the day. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you like this video, be sure to check out the other videos in our channel, including these two I've just highlighted. I'm Neil Rarup with EA Media, and I hope that helps.